Hi, class. We're looking at rational choice theory today, and the first key term, whoops, let me get them all on here. Can I get them all on there? Pretty much. Yeah. Is Cesare Beccaria, who lived from 1738 to 1794. He was a very early theorist about crime and many other things during the Enlightenment period. And he said that the threat of punishment involves not only its severity, but also its certainty and its speed. So he viewed people as rational animals, and they would respond to punishment. If it was severe, it was certain, and it was fast. Well, the American legal system is not very effective in some ways. About half of the crimes are reported. Police arrest only 20% make arrest in only 20% of reported crimes. And as we know, the wheels of justice are slow. Building on this long ago idea, in the 1960s, Gary Becker, a Nobel Prize winning economist, applied his views on rational behavior and human capital to criminal activity. And he said that except for a few mentally ill people, criminals behave in a predictable or rational way when deciding to commit a crime. Becker viewed criminality as rational, a behavior that could be controlled, may be controlled by increasing the cost of crime and reducing the potential for gain. Again, this idea that criminals are rational. James Q. Wilson, about 10 years later, observed that people are likely to commit a crime if they value the excitement and the thrills of a crime, if they have a low stake in conforming to standard behavior, and if they're willing to take greater chances than the average person. Again, this emphasis, I'm not sure about the 10 years afterward, but he's later than Becker. This emphasis on the rational aspect of crime. From all of this comes rational choice theory, that anyone is a potential criminal, and crime is a function of a decision-making process in which the potential offender weighs the potential costs and benefits of an illegal act and then decides what to do. Rational actors. There are lots of other theories that are involved with rational choice theory. One thing you should know about is what's called the incapacitation effect. The idea, this is just a theory, it's just an idea of how things work, that keeping offenders in confinement will eliminate the risk of their committing further offenses. If you incapacitate them, they can't do it again. There are problems with this, obvious problems. Incarceration, when someone is incarcerated, if you're a youngster, it becomes like your incarceration becomes a training school for criminal behavior. After you're incarcerated, it makes it really difficult once you're released to get a job, to get housing, making people desperate. They can't get a job, they can't get housing, is not a good recipe for creating safe neighborhoods. At this point, in America, as you know, 2.3 million people, or about 1% of our population, is incarcerated, incapacitated. Now, we know for a fact that incarceration does reduce crime up to 325 inmates per 100,000 people. Once you start incarcerating more than 325 people per 100,000, crime rates actually increase. Mass incarceration destabilizes society. It produces higher crime rates. So incapacitation, the idea that if you keep people out of the way, it's going to really help, well, think about it. I also want you to know this idea of situational crime. Situational crime prevention. Sorry. These are tactics that include increased efforts to discourage crime, such as putting unbreakable glass on storefronts, locking gates, fencing yards. There's an idea that crime can be reduced or prevented if we can communicate to people the wrongfulness of their behavior and how harmful it is to society. It's a theory. situational crime prevention. I want you to know about general deterrence. The general deterrence theory is the idea that criminal sanctions should be so powerful that offenders will never repeat their criminal acts. The idea is that you convince the potential law violator that the pains associated with the crime outweigh its benefits. And the general deterrence people think people will commit a crime if they perceive that the benefits of the crime outweigh the risks. And crime, again, like Cesare Beccaria said, I'm sorry if I mispronounce his name, crime is a function of the severity, certainty, and speed of punishment. Okay, there are problems with this class. Obvious, big problems with general deterrence theory. The problem is that the severity of punishment doesn't have the desired effect. Chronic offenders may suffer from emotional issues that render them incapable of fearing punishment and less likely to appreciate the consequences of crime. Punishment may, in fact, with chronic offenders, breed defiance. People want to show that they can't be broken by the system. The stigma of harsh treatment also may be a problem. That the stigma related to a criminal offense may help lock offenders into a criminal career or can cause severe psychological problems. Real problems with a general deterrence theory. And then there's the specific deterrence theory, which I want you to know about. It's the idea that if the punishment is severe enough, criminals will not repeat their illegal acts. Let's just look at the harsh example of the supermax prisons. There's a bare minimum of treatment, and they impose lockdown 23 hours a day. What do we know about these places? A lot. Studies show that supermax prisoners have a significantly higher felony recidivism rate than people who leave from less restrictive prisons when they've committed the same crime. Those supermax imprisoned who are released directly into the community from a supermax commit new offenses sooner than supermax prisoners who were first sent to a traditional institution for 3 months or more before their release. So real issues, real problems with the specific deterrence theory. And then I do want you to know some things which we've discussed before, but are important to keep in mind in the United States. So African American men are incarcerated at over 5 times the rates of white people. In New Jersey, my home state, the ratio is 10 to 1. There are many other states where the ratio is very high, 12 in fact. In my state, New Jersey, more than half the prison population is black. In 11 states, 1 in 20 black males are incarcerated. But the issue is the incarceration rate doesn't match the criminal offense rate. For example, whites and blacks use drugs at roughly the same rate. Why are African Americans imprisoned at 5 times the rate of white people? Sorry for missing my words. This is systemic racism at work. There's racism embedded in the system. So I also want you to know some other ideas that are contrary to what the media points out. Research by John Donahue and Justin Wolfers shows that when you apply the death penalty, you actually increase the number of murders. So how does that work? Well, the result is that capital punishment, killing people for crimes, one result is it makes police work more dangerous. And Jeffrey Rapp found that capital punishment creates extremely dangerous environment for law enforcement. In states where there is capital punishment, criminals are more likely to kill police officers if there is a death penalty. So why do we even have one? Worth thinking about. Thank you, class.